$690 billion. That's what the 5 largest tech companies on Earth will spend on AI infrastructure this year. Microsoft alone is tracking past $120 billion. Meta, up to $135. And here's what none of them can solve with money alone. There aren't enough photonic components to wire it all together. Every GPU cluster needs optical interconnects. Every optical interconnect needs a laser. And the global supply of indium phosphide lasers, the material that makes those lasers work, is running out. NVIDIA knows this. They're buying up traditional laser supply and locking it into their own ecosystem. That leaves every hyperscaler looking for an alternative. This is the bottleneck. And one company just raised $430 million to break it open. The market discovers supply chains from downstream to upstream. It always has. First, it was GPUs, then packaging, then power. Now it's the optical layer, the fiber and lasers that connect every chip to every other chip inside a data center. Here's the math. LITE Counting, the industry's benchmark forecaster, projects over 125 million 1.6 terabit optical modules will ship between 2027 and 2031. That's the next generation of data center connectivity. And every single one of those modules needs an indium phosphide laser inside. But IMP is scarce. There are fewer than 10 companies worldwide that can fabricate IMP lasers at scale. And the largest buyer in the world, NVIDIA, is contracting directly with those suppliers, locking capacity for their own NVLink ecosystem. So if you're a hyperscaler trying to diversify away from NVIDIA's closed system, and many are, you need an alternative path. You need a way to build high-speed optical engines with fewer lasers, structurally fewer. That's not a software problem. That's a physics problem. And physics problems create moats. POET Technologies. Ticker, POET, market cap around 700 million. Headquarters in Toronto, fabs in Singapore and Malaysia. What they do, in one sentence, POET builds an optical interposer that integrates photonic components onto a single chip, reducing the number of IMP lasers needed by 50%. Same speed. Half the lasers. In a market where lasers are the bottleneck, that's a structural advantage. Now the numbers. POET reported Q4 2025 earnings 2 days ago. Revenue, $341,000. A year earlier, it was $29,000, still tiny. But the direction matters, because this isn't a revenue story yet. It's a production readiness story. What changed? POET received its first production order worth over $5 million from a leading systems integrator for its Infinity optical engines. LightSource manufacturing begins this quarter in Malaysia. 800G optical engines ship in Q3. The company expects to deliver more than 30,000 engines this year. The war chest, $430 million in cash after 2 financing rounds, $225 million in Q4, another $150 million in January. This is not a company that needs to dilute to survive. The money is already in the bank. The partnerships are stacking. At OFC 2026, the optical industry's biggest conference, POET unveiled 3 new products. Blazar, a hybrid laser for co-packaged optics. Starlight, their next-generation external light source. And TerraLite, a 1.6 terabit engine that scored a 4.5 on the Lightwave Elite scorecard. They also signed joint development agreements with LITE, one of the world's largest ODMs, and Lessengers, for a 1.6 terabit transceiver with samples shipping Q2 this year. The institutional signal, Morgan Stanley and Citadel both added POET to their positions in Q4 2025. Smart money is arriving. The risk, and this is the honesty moment. Revenue is $341,000 a quarter. The thesis depends entirely on execution in 2026 and 2027. The stock is down 13% in the past month despite every OFC win. The market doesn't trust partnership announcements without financial details attached. That skepticism is fair, The financials do not yet confirm the thesis. That's the cost of being early. So here's the frame. 690 billion in capex is flowing into AI infrastructure this year. The bottleneck has shifted from compute to connectivity, from GPUs to the optical layer. Indium phosphide is scarce. NVDA is locking traditional supply, and POET sits upstream with a technology that uses 50% fewer lasers at the exact moment the industry needs alternatives. One of the sharpest macro minds on Wall Street argues that in an inflationary capex supercycle, the companies that own scarce physical components set the price. POET isn't setting prices yet, but the pieces are falling into place. The cash, the partnerships, the production timeline, the institutional interest. The market will figure this out. We're just here first. Follow the infrastructure. Subscribe to TCKR. TCKR is independent media. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making investment decisions.